So, so yesterday we covered in our last class, we understood what is a decision table, how exactly can we trigger the decision table using declare on change. We're able to, you know, trigger that, and we saw how it affects the flows processing based on decisioning. Again, use the outcome of a decision table, and we were able to process the flow and see the outcome was getting mapped to a certain property. That is something which we understood, we explored that. However, as part of decisioning rules, we also have something called as decision tree, which we were taking a look at. So today's class will be focused more in understanding what is a decision tree all about. So decision tree, sorry, is nothing, it's also a decisioning rule, a rule as part of Pega's decisioning. Pega provides decision tree as well. But with this thing, it is used to evaluate, conditions, set of conditions. It used to evaluate conditions. What are those conditions? Conditions could be anything, like we saw yesterday. But the only advantage with decision tree is we can add multiple if conditions in decision tree. Can add multiple if conditions. How? We'll take a look at that. Don't worry about that. Multiple if conditions in a decision tree. You can add that. Also, when they try to refer it, it will be in the format of if and nested ifs. In the sense, there will be one if under which you will have multiple ifs. If that is the case, if that is the case, if that is the case, like that. We'll see that. Don't worry about that. And there is a difference between decision tree and decision table. One major difference being, the way you specify logic. The way you specify the logic will be different, and we can call the decision tree from flow using a decision shape. We can call the in a flow on decision shape, we can call it. Okay. Also, in an activity we can use, like we use property map decision table, we can use property hyphen map decision tree. Yesterday we did that, right? We called the decision table and we saw how exactly it was getting triggered. Decision tree, you can use that. Also, you can access this through declare expressions. In declare expressions also you can use this. We won't use it too much because most of the conditions you will be easily managing it through decision tables, but this is also for some complex situations we will be using decision tree. It's not pretty common, but good to know, have an understanding. Under decisioning, all these rules are available and you can use them, is what we are trying to understand as part of this exercise. So today's takeaway will be for you, what is a decision tree all about? How exactly can you use it within Pega? How exactly you can use it within Pega? So to start with, what I will do, let's try to open a decision tree and see how exactly does it look. Okay, rule mapping help URL. Let me open something like this. Of course, this is under the decisioning category. Once you go in the records explorer, you will see there is decisioning category under which you can find decision table as well as decision tree. Make sense? I'll also keep the decision table open, the one which we created, so that we can compare and understand what is the difference between the decision table and decision tree. agency table is what we created. I'll open this. Okay. This is one of the decision trees which is available. It just has one if statement. This way you can add multiple if statements into this particular decision tree. If you see between decision table and decision tree, this is a decision tree which I have opened, and if you see the agency table, after if, when you try to add anything, it gets added as else if. See, if I add any row below this thing, it adds as else if. However, if you want to have nested ifs, you will have to go for decision tree. See, you can assume this condition to be something like this. For example, we told if Monday legs is what you told. Okay. Same way, if someone is trying to, wear clothes based on a given day. For example, if he's saying if Monday and if not raining, return wear suit. Does it make sense? How multiple ifs can be a part of this particular rule, how multiple if conditions can be thought about, how you have to think when it comes to multiple ifs. We'll try to implement that also, but one major difference between these things is decision tree and decision table is decision table has if and else if sort of logic. However, decision tree has if and nested ifs, right? There is a if and below which you can add more ifs, if like that. That's how we'll be building that. Okay, so today's use case will be kind of slightly different, where if you see our application, let's go back to our application class, and on the user interface there is a place where we select if it is going to be a commercial vehicle or personal vehicle. Let me open the insurance section. See, here we select if it is a personal vehicle or commercial vehicle. All I want to do is, based on what a user chooses, I want to show him that specific screen, and that I want to control through a decision tree. That's what I want to achieve. For example, if the user picks personal vehicle, I want to show him personal vehicle section. If a user picks commercial vehicle, I want to show him commercial vehicle section. But today when you try to look at the flow, we don't have anything separate like that for these two. Everything is generic. So we will have to do some modification for that. We'll do it, no worries. If you see today's flow, the current flow which we have right now doesn't have a specific logic for personal vehicle and commercial vehicle. Everything goes under personal vehicle only. Everything is sitting here. So there is no logic. So what did we say? We told decision tree can be called within a flow on a decision shape is what we have told. If you see the palette here in the flow, there is a decision shape, yes or no, which we haven't used yet. So today we'll try to understand how we can use a decision shape within a flow, and how exactly a flow takes a particular route based on what decision is taken as part of the flow. That is something which we'll try to achieve today. Let's see how we can do it. Perfect. Mm, So to do that, right now I don't have a commercial vehicle section. I want to create that. To create that, I will need one page list, I guess, which belongs to vehicle data class. Do I have a vehicle data class? Under data types, I should be having a vehicle data class. Perfect. I do have a vehicle data type for which I can create a data class. I think I can create a page list for that. Let me create one. This page list will hold all the values, like all the commercial vehicles will be part of this particular page list. That's what I want to create. Let me go to work class right click here and create a page list. How can I create a page list? Go to create on your work class, go to data model, say you want to create a property. Directly you can't create a page list. First you have to create a property. Exactly how we create a page, right? And say what is that property? It is going to be commercial vehicle list tab, part of work class. Perfect. Create and open. Once you do create and open, here you get an option to change the type from text. You can change it to page or whatever you want. Right now I want it as a page list. I'll be creating a page list, and you have to point to the page which the to the class of which you want to create a list of. For example, list of what is this? Is it list of work objects? No, these are list of vehicles which I want to capture. That is why I'll be picking the data class of vehicle. Save. So this should give me a page list. If I refresh my work class, if I refresh this guy, it should give me a page list under data model category, which will be having the properties for vehicle data class. See, commercial vehicle list. Am I able to see this? We have done this before. Yes or no, guys? Creating a page and referring it to the data class. We have done this before. Now let us map this particular properties onto a user interface. Of course, to create a user interface for those properties, I need a section. Right click on your user interface category, create a section. Let me call it commercial vehicle section. Perfect. All I'm trying to do is mapping those properties on this UI. Once it is created, of course, you will have to convert that to a full section editor to be able to use all the different attributes there. So like in previous this thing, we used to change it to stacked, inline, grid, double is what we used to use. This time we are trying to work with page list. So I'll choose some different layout. Let us say I want a table layout. I want it to look like a table. Let me drag and drop it here. See, all I did was created a section, dragged the table layout, dragged and dropped it here. That's what I did. Understood, guys? How I'm creating this thing? We don't need this dynamic layout, so let me delete it. Just right click on that particular dynamic layout, the one which comes by default, delete that. So right now I only have my table layout. Once I get that table layout, I need to source. What do I need to source? This layout, click on this gear icon and you'll get an option to tell here what properties do you want to source here. This layout's properties can be accessed from this gear icon, and here you can tell, do you have a list or whatever source you want to use here. Right now I know that it has to be a list, right? Because I have created a list which I want to point here and use. Let me see if I can refer that here. It's taking its own time. Come on, refresh this. Dev Studio. And we're trying to create the commercial vehicle section, which we have. If you see, our changes have not been saved. That is why we don't see the table layout. Let me drag the table layout and put it again. It came back. Let me delete this existing layout. Now let me go to the configuration or properties of this particular section, right? Of this particular type of table layout. Here it is asking me what do you want to source it with. I do have my page list, right, which we have created, commercial vehicle list. I want to source this with this particular list. That's what I am saying. In the sense, what properties do you want to refer here is what it is asking. And I am doing it by pointing it to commercial vehicle list. Understood, guys? Okay. There is one more option which you can do here. What you can do, we can also specify what sort of editing we want in operations. If you see on general tab, we chose the source. In operations, you can tell how do you want to do row editing. It's telling you don't want row editing, but here we want editing, so we will say it in as inline. Inline in the sense, on the current section you can add multiple rows. When you are in the flow is being executed, you will be able to add rows. And if you see inline edit mode, click row to edit. You can click on the row and it will be editable is what it is saying. So I want it this way. Nothing, just created a section, source it to the property, and then I am enabling editing on this particular layout. That's what I want to do. And to do that, I have chosen this. It was by default as none, where you won't be able to edit this particular section. I want to edit it, so I am choosing inline. By default, it is on click of the row, you will be able to edit. Perfect. This is done. Let me submit it. Nothing fancy. As usual, how we create sections. We are trying to create that. Once this is done, let us try to add the columns. Let me see how many columns are needed first. So if you open the work class and commercial vehicle list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 properties are there. So I need 5 columns. Where can we add columns? This row. You have one column added. If you want to add multiple columns to this thing, just select that or click on that, and you will see here insert column after selected. I want 5 columns. I'll add those 5 columns. Just keep clicking on that 4 times. You will have 5 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are we able to add 5 columns? Yes or no? If you want to delete also, just have to select like this and right click, delete column. That's what you have to do. Perfect. So now let me point these rows with properties. So I was able to add those columns. Now I have to refer the properties here. Let us try to refer those. Let me open the column configuration. There it's taking the weights. So I can click on this guy and I can say I can use dot, and this should be giving me commercial vehicle list dot win. I should have value label for. Let me check what is this guy offering. See, I want win. Okay, and the value will be VIN. Let us say win. Same way, this thing. Let us say this is brand. Brand value for brand, and then this way, this guy will be. Let us say model. And this will be the make year, make, and Perfect. So we gave these. Let us see what is mapped here. Is it pointing to win? No. So let me refer to win here. Submit. See, refer the brand here. Brand model make here. Quite exactly similar to how we have been doing this all this long. It's just that we are using page list here instead of page. Why? Because if we have multiple commercial vehicles to be added, we can use this list and we can append it and add as many number of records we want. Perfect. Now once it is done, where does the section go and sit, guys? Flow action. Perfect. So let us create a flow action then. Let me shortcut this and then right click on process category, create flow action, and let me call it COMM FA. All that we are doing right now is something which we have already created before. But to understand this concept, we need all these raw materials, right? We haven't even created a decision tree yet. Just trying to accomplish the skeleton where we will be putting this. So commercial vehicle section is what we created, added it to the flow action, done. Now let me go to the decisions, the designer, data designer for, or let me open the properties. In the properties, I should have something called as insurance type. See, this insurance type today, if you see, it is like a static list. Let us change it to something which will accept the codes like we did for the other one. If you remember, we did for agency code like that. Let us try to do it. The standard value in the prompt list, I will say it is going to accept instead of personal vehicle, PV is what it is going to accept, and commercial will be CV. Okay, just change this so that you can pass this as codes. That's it, nothing fancy. Save the property. Perfect. Now the requirement here is if the transaction form in the transaction form, if the insurance type is selected as personal vehicle, display personal vehicle form, and if the type is selected as commercial vehicle, show commercial vehicle form. Commercial vehicle form was not existing, we built that. Just now we built the commercial vehicle form. Now the decision tree should be achieving this thing. Whenever the user chooses PV, it has to show person vehicle form. When the user chooses CV, it has to show him commercial vehicle form. That's what we want to achieve. Perfect. So to do that, let's try to create a decision tree. How can I create a decision tree? Go on the decision category or on work class, anywhere you want. In multiple ways, you can create rules in Pega. Just you have to right click create, and from there you will be get going. Can I see decision tree here on decision under the work class? I can see that, right? Let me click on that. I'm creating a decision tree. What do I call as? Let me call this as insurance tree. Okay, insurance tree. So let me create it open. Also something which you want to understand is what class does this guy belong to? We can check that. Should be rule hyphen declare decision tree, I guess. Hold on, let me see. px obj class. Yeah, rule declare decision tree is what it belongs to, because these all are pretty much those rules, right? So we know it belongs to. Similarly, decision table belongs to rule declare decision table, right? You don't need to remember for everything, but major rules you will already know it because you are trying to use it. quite often. Once you load it, if you see, there is a decision tab, configuration tab, parameters tab, pages and classes. Don't worry about that. This tab, the decision tab, is where entire magic happens. Here is where you will be specifying all your conditions, right? All your conditions will be specified here. Let us double click on this particular guy here. And you see the conditioning bar got enabled. The conditioning bar got enabled. Now let's try to add the properties. What are the properties we are looking for here? The insurance type. If I do dot, I should be able to get that insurance. Let me add it explicitly. Insurance type. What am I saying? If insurance type is equal to, for example, PV, then return P vehicle, personal vehicle, right? That's what we are trying to say. Also, if it is, see, if I have to add another if, I have to just click on that current row, and if I do add, I should be able to add another row. Do you understand how we can add multiple rows, guys? Insurance type is equal to CV, then return C vehicle. Multiple ifs. Like this, if I have three-wheelers, four-wheelers, or whatever, I can have multiple ifs. Can't I add them here, guys? Can't I add them here? Right? That's what we are trying to do here. This is the difference between the decision table and decision tree. If you see in the decision table, you had to give here hard-coded values. If I open the decision table, see agency 001. However, here we are referring dynamic properties. In the insurance tree, we are referring the insurance type property, and based on that we are trying to see what exactly we want to achieve. Right now we want to achieve that if none of this is matching, you have to give some result here. By default, return value is what it is telling. You have to return some value. Let me try to save it. If it lets me save, but it's always good to give a value. So I'll say if nothing is, if not, these two are not passed, then exit this decision tree is what I'm saying. Perfect. You can give anything there, not necessary this or that. So all that we have done here is configure a decision tree. We have two conditions here. If insurance type is PV, return personal vehicle. If insurance type is CV, return commercial vehicle. That's what we are trying to say here. Perfect. Let us save this. So our commercial vehicle user interface is ready. Our decision tree is ready. But the UI is not having capability today to show commercial vehicle. Yes or no? The customer flow, we don't have a commercial vehicle showing section here. I mean, or flow action which is mapped to any assignment here, right? But what we are saying, there is a decision which has to happen here, is what we are saying. Let us modify this flow to add those changes. To do modification, what I will do, I'll save as this flow as a new flow, and I want to modify on that just to make sure we won't miss out on any changes. I don't want to touch that flow. I'll call this insurance flow. Perfect. Called it insurance flow. This should save and give me uh, same flow which is saved as, and I'm getting another piece of the same flow with a different name, which is called now insurance flow, right? If you refresh here, you will have the three flows now: customer search, customer flow, and insurance flow, because we saved as and we created another instance of that. Let's validate that. Expand this and you'll be seeing that. Yes or no, guys? Perfect. So now let me modify this flow. Uh, delete. Okay, I moved this guy. Now what I want to do, I want to introduce some decisioning to it. Okay, let me move this guy also here. And to navigate, if you have too many shapes, you can use this particular piece on the bottom to navigate this, and then bring this guy also to the bottom. Perfect. So what I want to do is, this decision has to happen after transaction information, yes or no? Once the transaction information is provided, after that, in this screen is where you will be choosing that. If you see this transaction flow action, here you are choosing if it is commercial or personal vehicle. See, we can verify that. See, transaction flow action. We have, we should have embedded that particular section where we are saying what is the insurance type. We are choosing the insurance type. After that particular selection, when the submit happens, we want to decide what we want to do, yes or no. See, insurance type, personal or commercial. It has been specified on transaction flow action, which is, if you see the flow, it is here. After the transaction information, this flow action connector is there. So this is where the decision is happening. I mean, we are choosing. After this is when we have to initiate our decision. Like, we have to make a decision if this what has to be called, if the personal vehicle section has to be called, or commercial vehicle has to be called, based on what the user has selected. So to achieve that, what I will do, I will add a decision shape. I'll add a decision shape here. Okay, and I will say this particular guy, connects to this thing. So all I am saying is, the transaction flow action, before it was directly going into personal vehicle information, because there was no decision to be made. We knew that we only want to show personal vehicle information to the user. Now we are saying no, we want to also make sure that this particular, there is a decision made after the transaction information has been provided by the user. Based on what insurance type he chooses, I want to give him personal vehicle information or commercial vehicle information. Right now commercial vehicle information is not there because we haven't designed it yet. We will design it. Right now we have added a decision. So far we have added a decision. So on this decision shape, we can do a lot of stuff. If I double click on this particular decision shape, like we said in the definition, I can configure the decision tree on top of this, is what we said. Yes or no? To to specify that, when you double click on this decision shape, it will ask you, is it a fork, or what do you want to do? You want to specify a decision table, decision tree? What do you want to do? Today we want to see how a decision tree works here. So I'll choose decision tree. And if you see, the below attributes got changed. Now it is asking you, is there a rule which you have which you want to refer here? Yes, I do have, right? I have created insurance tree. We created this particular decision tree. Choose that. Nothing fancy. Canceling this, coming back again. The existing flow was looking something like this, customer flow. This didn't have a decisioning capability where the user could decide based on his selection. This flow was not being routed to commercial or personal vehicle section. After every transaction information section, we were displaying him personal vehicle info section. Now we wanted to modify that. To do that, we saved as this particular flow and we started modifying it. First thing what we did, we separated transaction information, and we introduce a decision shape once the transaction information is provided, on top of which I want to pass my decision tree where the decision will happen. Whatever is the selection the user makes, that selection will be pushed to this decision tree. Based on the decision, in the decision tree, it will decide what the selection is. For example, if it is CV, it will go to commercial vehicle. If it is PV, it will go to personal vehicle. Does it make sense, guys? Yes? No? That's what we are trying to do. So let me do submit once after I've chosen that. If you see, 3 lines have come now. One is exit, one is C vehicle, one is P vehicle. These are the 2 conditions we specified there, yes or no? 3 conditions actually. If you see, the insurance tree has 3 outputs: personal vehicle, commercial vehicle, and exit. Exit we don't want because we don't have a flow for that and we don't want to do anything as part of it. So I'll select that and I'll say delete. Delete. I don't want this. But with personal vehicle and commercial vehicle, I can utilize those. Yes or no? Why? To specify where exactly the route has to go. I can utilize that. And all I have to do is the personal vehicle one, I have to link it to the personal vehicle section. See, make sense? One output, whatever one decision is personal vehicle, that has to go to personal vehicle. For commercial vehicle, I don't have anything. I have to create a new assignment. Why? Because whatever screen a user works on in a flow will be an assignment. Yes or no? We have discussed this. Have we discussed this, guys, before? Right? So that's what we are trying to do. Now, let me add another assignment shape. What goes on assignment shape is something which we already know, right? Just connect this connector to this assignment shape. Just take it there. It will by default pick it up. No need to worry. It's okay. Perfect. On this assignment shape, what do I want to do? Now, I want to say this is a commercial vehicle flow action. Yes or no? Flow action. Submit this guy. Perfect. And from here, the connector will be leaving to the end shape. Sorry, not the end shape, to the address information. Does it make sense, guys? How we are trying to design this? Uh, just want to make it look a little prettier, so I'm trying to select this guy and move it here. That's okay, it's not happening, that's fine, no worries. However, this particular flow action which is coming from the commercial vehicle assignment, I have to map it to the flow action which I want. What is my flow action here? Commercial vehicle flow action. Yes or no? Right. Perfect. So call this commercial vehicle FA. Right. Submit. Perfect. Our modification is all set. All we wanted to do is, create this particular guy. I'll move it here so it is easy for us to take a look. Right. Our flow starts, you provide the customer information, transaction information. In the transaction information, you do a choice. Based on that choice, either personal vehicle information or commercial vehicle information screen will be prompt. Let's try to save, and this should throw me some errors is what I'm assuming. No, perfect, it's not throwing. That is good. All that we did here is we added a decision shape and we told what we want to do. Yes or no? The decision tree was referred here, and based on this decision tree's output we want to navigate and show the section. Let us see, let us try to execute this flow and see if it is working. Right, run. Okay, this got popped up. Let's provide some valid data. Submit. This is the transaction information. Whatever you choose here, based on that, the next screen is going to pop up. Let us say I am choosing commercial vehicle. Why? Because we have added that newly. We'll also see if our AG001 is 002 is working. Working perfect. And term is also working fine. Policy started. I'll give something like 25th today. So it should become 25. Working perfect. Application so far looking good. Now the next piece is where we want to see commercial vehicle section. We want to see how exactly. Let's also open the tracer to see if the conditions we have enabled something which we can navigate and understand. Declare decision tree. I'll enable that. Clear this. Now let me submit. What section are we seeing here, guys? Commercial vehicle section, right? This is what we wanted. Previously we just had personal vehicle section. To compare that, all you can do is you can also run this particular customer flow. See, that's why I saved as and created a different flow. If you run this, you will know the difference. Here, commercial or personal, whatever you choose. For example, I'll choose commercial here and submit. What are we seeing here? Personal vehicle flow action. Personal vehicle information is what we are seeing. Because those changes were not implemented. However, here we are seeing that. Let us try to see in the tracer if that particular decision tree has been called. Of course, it has to be called. There is no way this can be rendered without that getting called. Yes or no, guys? See, decision tree. Do we see it has been called? Insurance decision tree. Yes or no, guys? And the result of that is C vehicle. See, status C vehicle is the output for it. Why? Because we have chosen commercial vehicle as part of the user interface selection. Yes or no? Does it make sense, guys? Is it making sense? How exactly we are using a decision tree here to perform a selection? Yes, no. If you see control F insurance type, CV is passed. This is the value we hard coded in the prompt list of the property. Yes or no? CV and PV, we modified that. Same thing is being passed to the decision tree. Decision tree got the value as CV from the user interface selection. Now it knows when it is seeing something called CV, it has to return commercial vehicle. That is why it took the route of commercial vehicle in the flow. Understanding rule is one thing. How you can apply that is very important. Are we able to understand, guys? Yes? No? Perfect. Very good. And we used a vehicle list here. If you see now, if I have to add multiple, multiple vehicles, I can do that. See, inline edit. Do you remember choosing that configuration on this section? Inline, you are able to add this. You are able to edit. I can say when is this, and one of my friend got Tata Nixon make 2022, right? See, this way I can add as many number of items. When you have same sort of properties as a multiple records, isn't it going to be part of page list, guys? Yes or no? See, now when I submit this, I am here. Just go to your clipboard and see. You will have a page list which got created, right? What did we call the page list? We called it, sorry, commercial vehicle page list. Yes or no? Where is my PY work page? Commercial vehicle page list. Do I see two pages as part of this page list? PX results of 1, PX results of 2. Are we able to see that, guys? See, when Nixon, Tata. Does it make sense? See, that list got updated. This way, when you're capturing details from a user, you if you have inline edit like a table, you can capture as many number of records there. That also is something which we saw. Today we understood how exactly a decision tree can be created. All we did was we created a decision tree and then we referred that in our flow on a decision shape. Yes or no? Other things are like exactly similar to what we have done before. Nothing fancy. Created a page list, refer that page list on one of the sections. That section we added to a flow action. That flow action we referred on the connector shape. All this is same, right? Anything different? Is it understood, guys? Perfect. Very good. So once this is done, something very important to remember here is the differences between decision table and decision tree. What are those? First of all, you don't have nested ifs in decision table. Decision table, let us open that. Let's close all this. We want the decision tree. Okay. We want the decision tree. Also, we want the decision table. Let me open the decision table. Where is that guy? Agency table. So just open these rules and you'll be able to understand. This has if, else if, and otherwise sort of, configuration. And one property where you'll have constants based on which you are going to return one single value. And this also has something called as the expression builder. If you open this, see, you can click on this and it will give you, you can make expressions out of this, the expression builder. However, on this particular In decision tree, you don't have expression builders. See, do you see any expression builder here? That gear icon from where you can build an expression? No. Very important difference. Decision trees don't have expression builder. Decision tables have expression builder. Okay, and these are if nested if statements, right? We can add logic, in one column and static records on the other columns. Like you're referring to a property here, and then what you want to do as part of that particular property selection. And you cannot use the expression builder here. And this is can be used for complex logics also, because it has nested ifs. You can use this for complex logics, and by default it takes the AND route, in the sense this and this and this. It keeps verifying it like that. So we understood we can call decision rules from uh, you know from decision shape. Also, something which you can do here is you can procedurally change. For example, if insurance type is PV, then return personal vehicle. Also, what you can do, continue. Once you see personal vehicle, continue further and see in the personal vehicle if Mercedes Benz also is there. You can verify that in next condition. If, see, right now it is returning personal vehicle, right? You can also continue, or you can jump to otherwise directly from there. You see how procedurally you can specify logic here. Make sense, guys? You won't be using it. Good to know. Like, you need to know when you're trying to use that rule. Okay, these options are there in this thing. Always good to remember that. You can also call other decision rules from here. From the decision tree, you can also call other decision rules. How can we check that? To do that, on the configuration tab, you have something called as allow selection of call decision option. In the sense, when you check this particular option, you will be able to call decision rules from this particular decision tree, other decision rules. Like in activity, you can call other activities. You can use the call option and you can call other activities. Yes or no? Same way, decision rules can be called by checking this checkbox. Save this, and you can come back to this particular tab. See this. First, we are only seeing return, continue, and otherwise. Are we able to call a decision tree, a map value, and a decision table from here? Make sense, guys? You don't need to like know in detail what exactly it's doing, but you need to know that there is this option available. And these are the differences between decision table and decision tree. Most of your things with also decisioning can be achieved with decision table. Sometimes they will need decision tree also. So I have given you a clear understanding of what a decision tree looks like, how exactly you can use it in a flow, and how exactly we can, you know, use the values which is returned as a part of decision tree to navigate our flow further. Hope this is understood. That's what was planned for today. If you guys have any questions, I can hold on, or we can call it a day.